congratulations with this TV series. Let me get the name right. It's called Life is Easy.
That's right.
So tell me where the genesis of Life is Easy actually came from. I mean, what originate this idea?
We actually have talked a lot about this because I remember distinctly like the pinpoint of it being like the two of us out drinking and me being like, hey, I've got this really stupid, dumb idea. What do you think? And then we just like bounce back and forth. And then it just never left us. And I think that's genuinely how most of our ideas come about is we try and make each other laugh. If that works, you've passed the first test. And then if it actually means something to us that's important enough for us to dive into, then it will continue to live. But yeah, it basically was like the perfect vessel for something, this perfect stupid vessel for something quite meaningful to both of us that I think we were both sort of like mulling on at the time, which is like friendship, identity. You know, we're both kind of like late 20s creatives trying to figure out who we are in this, you know, wokeified new world. It just kind of came out of nowhere. What do you reckon, Cole?
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. We spent Chye-Ling and I have been friends for over 10 years now, or about 10 years. And we've created a lot of theatre together and all that sort of thing. But we've always wanted to like, let's create a project that's really special and specific to us. Well, we never really gotten around to do it, various other jobs that we're doing. And then eventually when we, like Chye-Ling said, this idea came up and it really stuck with us and we kept kind of coming back to it and talking about it and thinking about it. And then when we got the opportunity to pitch it to producers in New Zealand, we were like, hey, well, why don't we just go with this one and see if other people like it? And other people really liked it. And so enough so that they were willing to give us money to make it. So yeah, we were pretty stoked.
Wow, that's quite rewarding. So the part of like body swapping, that was added in later after you figured that you wanted to do a show about friendship?
Yeah, I think it was sort of the joke was that Cole and I we're so similar, I think, in a lot of ways that we always joke that we basically are the same person. And it's a statement that reflects how we feel about our friendship, but also that statement is completely, it's not correct, because obviously there are lots of social, political things that the two of us live with that are extremely different. But in terms of being friends and being friends for so long, we often say, well, a thing that stuck with me with our friendship is that Cole's existence validated my own life because he's so similar to me and we kind of think in the same weird ways that it feels like when he's in the world, I'm validated. So it's a friendship that's like strong and similar on so many levels. But the irony is that we couldn't really be more different in terms of the demographics that we fit into, and the minority experiences that we each have are so nuanced. So I think that was the joke that we were like, but we should play each other because we're basically the same person anyway. And so that kind of evolved, I think, into the body swap.
So in the show, you kind of explained the origins of the two characters. Did you guys have a similar origin story for you two in real life?
Well, actually, Chye-Ling and I did go to the same school together when we were like 11 and 12, but we knew of each other, but we weren't friends then. We didn't meet until years later when we were at university and become friends there. So I guess in that way, we both had a similar experience. We went to the same intermediate school. I guess the dealing with our different identities at the time when we were teenagers and young teenagers, I guess that plays into the stories, the origin stories of these characters as well. But it's obviously a bit more elaborated upon and fictionalized to just make it a little bit more interesting for screen. but
our haircuts in that flashback scene are pretty much identical to the haircuts that we did have at high school, which is it was very triggering.
Yeah, a little bit.
So how close are the characters of the show to you both in real life?
Pretty close. I mean, I think, I mean, like I said, they're obviously heightened, exaggerated versions of, but obviously the inspiration for these characters came from our lived experiences, and everything like that. So, and even a lot of the scenarios that play out throughout the show are scenarios or experiences that we had in our lives that we've just kind of made to fit our narrative. So I think they are quite similar, and it's been interesting trying to because in the show we play each other, teaching each other about those sorts of experiences, how they feel, how we responded to them, how we wish we had responded to them, all those sorts of things. So in that way we are pretty similar to them.
I would say that they're probably, for me, it's probably closer to the version of myself I was maybe 5 years ago or 6 years ago, where it was, on the cusp of breaking through into that level of a wider awareness of the fact that just because you're a minority doesn't mean you know everything. And just because you're a minority doesn't mean that you're woke to every other minority struggle. With a dash of the trashy experiences that we had to go through with other people, people that are sort of self-identified fag hags that think it's okay to call gay people faggot in a sort of jokey way because they identify so strongly, with their friend who's gay, and that doesn't matter, people who kind of just don't know those nuances. I think it was fun to build the outside influence into those characters and make them a bit more problematic. But it's all come from a place of truth. It's all come from, like Cole said, lived experiences. So, yeah.
So one of you guys actually worked at a furniture store and another worked at a production company. Is that what the implication is?
No, I worked at a pie shop. So that wasn't exactly very exciting for the narrative.
No, and I worked in in hospitality in a restaurant for 8 years. So,
also clear ant traps.
Yeah,
my favorite of your weird jobs.
Yeah, we did lots of weird jobs, but the characters that are in our workplaces are based on people that we do know and have met.
Yeah,
so aspects of our other lives and brought it into a work environment, which kind of made it interesting, especially because some of these characters are quite heightened, but then you kind of think about it and you go, oh no, I know that guy, I know Roger. It all kind of was influenced from real parts of our lives.
Now, both of you known each other for such a long time, but since you've been working on this project together, did you learn something new about each other as you become closer with each other through this project?
I would say so. I think Cole and I both have a similar, not problem, but a similar, I would say, I don't know if it's a problem, but a similar way of dealing with our friendship, which is that we both value each other so much and we both feel so grateful to have each other in each other's lives that for me anyway, we often do this thing where we show only the best parts of ourselves to each other because we want to keep that friendship going, and we both feel like we're kind of punching up in terms of being friends with each other. We can filter out the kind of messy, boring, problematic, or things that we're really struggling with have to reach a certain level before we kind of reach out to each other. And I think, working on that show really did bring that home for me, because that's what the characters do. They front so much to each other because they don't want to face the harsh realities. They just want to be fun friends with each other. So the show was such a roundabout way of Cole and I really, I think, connecting with that side of our friendship, which is that even though things are messy and life isn't easy at all times, we can still be there for each other through all those messy, kind of boring bits, which happened a lot, through the shooting of it, because you go through so many struggles and, crises as a writer and as, through the production, that I think it was impossible not to have those moments of connection that were really authentic.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. Chye-Ling's way better at talking than I am. I'll write some dialogue, and she can get the words out. But no, I totally agree. And yeah, you're right in saying seeing these characters really struggle to really be fully honest with each other, even though they have no reason not to be, was definitely a bit of an eye-opener for Chye-Ling and I, because we felt like for years we tell each other everything, we share everything, but then get a couple of rum and cokes in us and we realize that we don't open up as much as we should, and then we kind of spill the beans and everything and have a cry, and it's all great and nothing happens. There's no consequences other than you become closer. So yeah, I think that definitely had a help to boost our friendship even more.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So when did it came down to the decision to put yourselves into the show rather than hiring out other actors?
I think we kind of always wanted to do that. One of the goals of Chye-Ling and I working together is we wanted to create some work for ourselves on screen. We've both been to drama school, we're trained actors, and we know how hard the industry is to kind of get the gigs if someone's making the decisions for you. So we're like, hey, well, why don't we just write our own story and star in it? So that was all kind of from the get-go. We wanted to do that. And we wanted to do things that would challenge us as writers, challenge us as actors, and we wanted to make sure we'd have the most fun as possible. We were like, what's some silly ideas? What would you love to do on screen? Oh, this. Okay, let's try and put that in, and we'll put that on the storyboard and see if it works out. And a lot of things like that made it in, I think. So yeah, we just wanted to make sure we had as much fun as possible while telling a story that was important to us, that we thought other people might like to hear.
Did you folks also directed yourselves in the project?
No, we didn't. So we got our friends Amanda Tito and Christopher Stratton to direct, which was a conscious decision because I think neither of us had acted and written something at the same time. So that was already a lot. And we decided to, give, also part of our co-op or our value system is that we try to involve as many people as we can so that they're all learning, and we're kind of creating this community of like queer people of color that are all upskilling at the same time. So we're trying to bring up kind of a community of filmmakers that we love and trust, and give opportunities to people to grow as well. So that's why we decided not to direct it ourselves. It was just a bit much at the time.
So tell me the process of the development of jokes for the show. Do you basically had a bunch of ideas for jokes, wrote it all down, or is there a lot of improv going
on? We didn't actually have any improvisation on set. That was a conscious decision for us as well in terms of our writing style and the comedy style of the show. New Zealand comedy especially relies a lot on improv, because there's some really great improvisers and comedians in New Zealand, and that's kind of where that slow-paced, awkward, drawn-out jokes come from, and that's where the comedy lies. Whereas we kind of wanted our comedy to lie in the experiences and the situations that these characters find themselves in. We would often write, when we were storyboarding, we'd write what we would call zingers, which were just little gags that you could put on camera that wouldn't take too much time. That was just an experience of like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if he experienced this for the first time? And then you put that on the wall, and then maybe find a place to pop that in. But we would just kind of write what we thought was funny, and if we made each other laugh and said, yeah, that's great, we'd keep it in. If not, we'd edit. But yeah, maybe it was a bit selfish in that way, but we wanted to kind of keep that comedy and that feel to us, because that's what we wanted to create, something that felt like mine and Chye-Ling's baby. Yeah.
That's amazing. But in the 21st century of comedy, because of situations of queer sexuality, racism and all this kind of stuff, do you basically look at it as like a free-for-all game, or do you sometimes actually say, wait, maybe sometimes we go too far and have to pull back a little bit? Or, I mean, what's your views on comedy today?
I think for me, it depends on who is the butt of the joke, and if you're punching up or you're punching down. I also think it's to do with with authorship and the authenticity of experience of who the joke is coming from. So I think if you've had a lived experience, like I could never make, for me personally, I would never make any jokes that need me to have lived, for example, a Black American experience, because that's not my story to tell. And a Black American person can decide for themselves how far or not, what is funny or not. And, even within that, there's so many different nuances of what some Black American people might find funny and, what other people don't. But I think for us, we kind of took that ethos of, not punching down, being as sensitive as we can to our own experiences. And if we're making jokes about other people's experiences, we would get a lot of consultation, and we made sure to cast those people from those experiences so that they could build that world with us and make sure things were actually funny and not offensive. So I think we were really conscious about not offending people, because we want it to be inclusive. And I believe that comedy lives in that world. You don't have to offend people or be super, we're not into like the shock factor comedy. I think we can be cleverer than that. And I think nowadays you're just being lazy if that's the only way that you can make people laugh. What about you, Cole? What did you think?
I agree with everything you just said.
Great.
Yeah.
Love it.
Love it.
Excellent. For a lot of us, for the rest around the world, when we think of New Zealand as a film business, we always think about Lord of the Rings or some kind of sci-fi or fantasy television show. But technically, you guys are, I want to say, the only thriving film production and TV business in the world right now. Could you talk about this community and why you guys are so proud to be making this TV series on there?
I think, well, yeah, you're right. New Zealand really is thriving. The film industry is really thriving over here. We're pretty much one of the only places that you can shoot safely, like on location anywhere, which is so exciting for us, because it means we've got international gigs and stuff coming to our doorstep, which is just great for us and our economy and our actors and our crew and everyone. Hopefully we'll get a slice of that pie. And yeah, we were really excited to be creating stuff in New Zealand, because when we set out writing Life is Easy, we said we wanted the show to kind of feel like a Kiwi show, but we want it to look and sound and smell and taste different to other digital content that you were seeing and being made in New Zealand. And so it was exciting to kind of embark on that, being inspired by other shows that we love, Kiwi shows and international shows, and try and amalgamate that together in something that felt new and fresh for New Zealand, as a sort of jumping off point for other productions to hopefully be inspired by as well. Maybe they like the look of it, maybe they like the style of the comedy, maybe they like the music in it, and it would hopefully inspire them to push the box a little bit as well.
I think we yeah, I totally agree. I think we have a problem in New Zealand with the way that we're funded and the limited, because in America, obviously there are lots of different ways to go about getting your project financed. There are a whole lot more production companies and a lot more competitive, structures to make things, to make content. But for us, we only have a handful, and those people who are funding and holding the cards, there are certain parameters that are sort of like undefined roadblocks that no one really knows what they mean. And one of those is what a New Zealand story is. And I think that's a huge issue that boxes in an idea of a story. And it can force you to look at what's being funded and what's being made and go, okay, cool, if I want my project funded, if that's what constitutes a New Zealand story, I'm going to try and do that. So that, to me, is very much in the realm of, small town, broody, kind of dark, misty, top of the lake style shows, small town murder mysteries, or, family dramas, usually revolving around white people or Pākehā. I think for us, Making Life is Easy, I personally think it's a really good reflection of New Zealand. I think for me, the diversity within the show is exactly what you see walking down the main street in the city, in the central city of Auckland, which is where we both live. And I think that to me is unique, but it doesn't make me feel less like it's a New Zealand show. It makes me feel like more like it's a truer representation of what New Zealand is. I'm super proud for it to be a Kiwi show, but I think within that, it's so hard to define. I don't necessarily think that that's what potentially a lot of funding bodies would define as a Kiwi show. Do you know what I mean?
That's an interesting perspective. I mean, when I watch it, I really didn't think about it, but now I'm thinking back. I guess this is sort of a New Zealand story compared to the rest of the world, where you're going to have an international audience.
Yeah, and that was a big question for us, is that we really wanted it to be super accessible for the world, because I think the different nuances of gender, race, identity, that's a universal vibe. That's kind of like a zeitgeist that's happening at the moment, and people are sort of redefining what that means and looking at the nuances of what that means, and feeling more proud and safe to do so. That's international, and we didn't really want it to feel like it was too specific, I guess.
Makes sense to me. Excellent. Yeah. And when you first heard that Revry is going to pick up and distribute and show the world your film series, I mean, what was your initial reaction to that?
Because we had an email thread going between Chye-Ling and I and our producer Ruby Rohanna Wilson, and it was kind of one of those, oh, this is happening, great. What do we need to do? Because it all just happened really fast. We started emailing Christopher and we sent him our media release, and he just said, yeah, we love the show. Let's talk about putting it on Revry. And then once that conversation started, we're like, okay, great, awesome. It was one of those things where we kind of had to keep checking in with each other, going, okay, is everyone
is
okay?
This
is pretty cool. This is really cool, guys. Let's have fun while doing this, even though it's adding a whole lot more work and is a little bit stressful. It's still like, remember, this is pretty awesome. And we're stoked.
Yeah, I think it is awesome, because I think the audience size is obviously limited in New Zealand, and I'm just super curious to see what the reaction will be internationally, because we just have no idea how it's going to be read. Because to us, we're just making content that's truthful to us, but for the rest of the world, it's like a New Zealand show with New Zealand accents, New Zealand actors, and I'm just so excited and curious to see what will happen.
Well, then I guess you're pretty proud that I'm on the other side of the world and I had a chance to watch your series.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. This is
Absolutely.
the dream.
Yeah, the dream. Yeah.
Now, just for the format, each episode is filmed, I want to say, sort of like a short film type of format. It's not an hour long or 45 minutes, but it's short. So basically, could you tell me about the process and production? Is this all purposeful, and did it make it easier to get things done?
I think we wanted it to be digestible, so we decided to make the episodes nice and short. It's definitely like we had the bingeable aspect in mind. We want people to be able to just go like, cool, if I want to watch the whole thing, I'm going to just do that right now. So I think that's the way people watch content nowadays. I don't know if it made it easier to film, because we shot a lot, and one thing that we did as like first time series writers, we just went totally ham. We got a little bit of money and we were like, all right, we can live our dreams. And so we did, we just went hard on the locations. Like there are so many locations for the amount of content that we shot. And that was what made it difficult for production.
Yeah.
If anything,
We just
yeah.
had to turn up and do the acting, but really difficult for our producer. But yeah, we definitely didn't make it easier for ourselves. And I think going ahead, writing more, we take that into consideration. What is actually going to be easier for the shoot and still be just as effective. But I think what we've created is amazing. I'm so proud that we were able to do that with the money that we had, because we didn't really have that much.
Yeah.
And it looks so expensive. There's so many locations, there's so many amazing actors and beautiful faces, and it doesn't look like it cost as much as it does. So we're pretty proud of that. But yeah, we didn't make it easy.
Great. Of course, you left the season with the cliffhanger and such, but we don't know yet whether there's a season 2. But do you already have plans yourselves for season 2? Are you already circulating some ideas?
To be honest, I really want to do season 2 in quite a different way. I'm quite interested because we learned so much from making the first season. I think I would love to direct or be the showrunner on season 2. Just because I have a bit more of a grip of what the world is, how film production works from the inside. Yeah, I have some ideas. I think I really want to go meta with it a little bit and kind of do like the world within the world, shoot all the same locations, same timeline, but just take ourselves outside. Because that's kind of the name of the game with the show. It's sort of like, you got the Freaky Friday thing. Like, how can we do that with the universe and like make a conceptual shift? Anyway.
So we'll pitch that to our say, so we need you to book all the same locations again. And
just as many as in
and get the
1.
same wigs and same costumes. Thank you.
Yeah. We just really like to make things difficult for our lovely producer Revry.
Yeah. Who's a star, a superstar.
Excellent. Well, let me start wrapping things up over here. So one of the things that I do have to take note is that you being in New Zealand, production is still a full scale. Where over here in America, we are limited. So I'm assuming you both have upcoming projects for yourselves, right? Hopefully.
I do.
Well, Chye-Ling does. Yeah, Chye-Ling's working full time on like our biggest TV drama at the moment. So yeah. Chye-Ling.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm shooting full time. It's very surreal. I'm shooting like 12-hour days through the week on our national soap, Shortland Street, coming out in about a month. So that's exciting. I've also got a short film that I was just funded for that I'm supposedly producing at the end of the year. And I also got funding to write my first feature film, which is kind of like a split narrative across 1920s New Zealand, where this thing called the White New Zealand League was formed, which was essentially a racist organization that was anti-Chinese and Indian immigration, with a modern day rom-com. So that's that. If you want to hire me for all your any American productions that want to come to New Zealand, I'm on the ground.
Working.
Hit me up.
There we go. Well, hey, congratulations to the both of you for Life is Easy. And just real fast, when is it already out, or when can we expect this on Revry?
I believe it's going to be out on Revry, I think from the 17th. I think that's the date, the 17th of July. I think that's the date that I read in an email. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Excellent. Hey, thank you very much for this conversation. This is the world we live in, doing these type of interviews, and now apparently for some unknown reason, Zoom interviews are really popular, and that's what everyone enjoys to watch. But this is very informative, and I wish you good luck on the project.
Thank you so much
for having us. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, and hopefully we'll get to talk about New Zealand again.
I love it. Come over.
Over, yeah.
Just come on over. Thank you. Bye now.
Thanks very much.
Catch you later. Bye.